Good morning. Yesterday, in the class on tuberculosis, we have discussed about the general features, the clinical features, and also the microbiological features, morphology, how to culture. Those things we have discussed yesterday. And today we will develop on the laboratory diagnosis of Mycobacteria tuberculosis. Hope you have read yesterday's class and come prepared for today's class. Now, regarding laboratory diagnosis, any one or more of the following methods can be used. If you want to do microscopy demonstration of bacilli in the lesions, maybe pulmonary or extrapulmonary. Next thing is culture. As you know, it takes 2 to 8 weeks isolating the bacilli in culture on Lowenstein Johnson medium. You can also use molecular methods. The advantage being they won't take much time, like culture, 2 to 8 weeks and all. To detect DNA or RNA of the bacilli. And also you can do a skin test to demonstrate hypersensitivity to purified protein derivative, and that test we call it as Andro test. Please note that the X is silent, just like Biomere, the company, it is ending with X. Rolo, you don't pronounce it as Roliax as per the spelling, you say Rolo in physiology. So likewise, here also, Andro test. Okay, animal experiment for completion's sake, you can say, but not supposed to use animals for testing. Beware of Petra or STCA. Ramala Nagarjuna, because she's an animal activist. Animal rights activist, I'm sorry. So, how to collect the specimen? It depends on whether it is pulmonary tuberculosis or extrapulmonary tuberculosis. So coming to a sort of flow chart, purposefully I blocked the rapid growers. That is, if you see on McConkey and their self-case test is positive, they are rapid growers, they grow in 1 week. And McConkey, they can grow, and RL self-case test is positive. So that we will consider separately while we are talking about non-tuberculous mycobacteria or atypical mycobacteria. Coming to slow growers, slow growth. Once you observe a slow growth on the Lowenstein Johnson medium, you do a niacin test. If the niacin is positive, niacin test is positive, it is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. For example, if it is negative, then you see the type of growth on the morphology of grass, like in pathology terms, grass morphology, that is on the culture media, how it looks. If it is scanty, smooth, flat colonies, remember dysgonic growth, then maybe it is Mycobacterium bovis. So then you do a rapid pathogenicity test. And if it is positive, it is Mycobacterium bovis. And it is negative, it is a post-BCG or a BCG strain exposure in the form of BCG vaccination. For example, if there is pigment production, then you go to atypical mycobacteria. Depending on the production of pigment, you consider in 3 varieties. If it is producing pigment only in the light, photochromogens. If it is producing pigments in the dark, it is photochromogen group 2. And non-chromogen, it is not producing pigment at all, either day or night. So this is the flow chart. And then we will see about the non-tuberculous mycobacteria later. For example, pulmonary tuberculosis. How to collect a specimen? As you are well aware, the specimen is nothing but sputum. Bacillary shedding is abundant if there is caseation. Remember, we said about hard tubercle and the caseation, and then becoming a soft tubercle, and they get in contact with the bronchi straight into this thing, or hematogen spread. So here, being sputum, the specimen, we can say that it can be detected directly in the sputum. Or if it is scanty in organized but not airway connected lesions. So that is the specimen part of it. Coming to the time, the best time is the morning before any meal. If scanty, go for 24-hour sample. 3 consecutive days you have to take the sample, and it raises chances of detection. If sputum is not available, then what to do? In case of children, they swallow the sputum. It's difficult to get sputum. So do a gastric lavage in children because they swallow sputum. Laryngeal aspiration is a bit technically difficult procedure. Bronchial washings, definitely it is a pulmonologist's arena. So if sputum is not available, then you can go for laryngeal aspirates, bronchial washings, or gastric lavage. How and why to concentrate? Because you heard of concentration techniques in the earlier class. But why and how? So the how part, remember LDC, lower division club, LDC means. But LDC here, L is liquefaction, D is decontamination, C is concentration. So the how part of concentration is, one is liquefaction, another is decontamination, another is concentration. And why to concentrate? To improve the yield of specimen to concentration techniques. Now, there are 2 methods, Petrov's and NALC method. Let us see what they are. So in Petrov's method, first step is sodium hydroxide, NaOH. Why you are adding NaOH? To kill the contaminants and also some equalite. It's mixed with equal quantities, that is 4% of NaOH, about 2 ml, and 2 ml of sodium. Incubate at 37 degrees centigrade. Frequent shaking. Why shaking? It helps in lysis of the sputum for clearing the mucus for 20 minutes. And then centrifuge. Once you say centrifuge, you say RPM, but it is wrong. You say G. Centrifuge at 3000 G. I have told you earlier also, RPM, revolutions per minute. It is used only in case of LP records, which are non-existent now. So, you say G, 3000 G for 20 minutes. And you also neutralize by mixing N/10 hydrochloric acid to the sediment. Because earlier you had added sodium hydroxide. So neutralize, you add a weak acid. So N/10 hydrochloric acid. So once you concentrate, what is the use? You can do a smear, you can do the culture, or you can do an animal inoculation also. But excessive exposure to alkali is deleterious. So don't expose too much to the alkali. Second method of concentration, which is better than Petrov's, is adding NaLC. What is this NaLC? N-acetyl cysteine for liquefaction and sodium hydroxide 2% for killing contaminants, and concentration by again centrifugation, as you said earlier, 3000 G. And it is compatible with culture in automated systems also. We'll see what are the automated systems and all next. So if you do a microscopy, this is how the picture is. Like you see, the bacilli, the arrow pointed areas. Okay, as we have already told you. You also can do a sort of fluorescent technique. What is the use of fluorescent technique? The eyes get strained to locate the Mycobacterium tuberculosis if it is only Gill-Nielsen's method. But if you do an Armin Rodeman stain against a dark background, you can see fluorescent Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Only problem with fluorescent staining is unwanted background fluorescence. That is the only thing. But the bacilli will be smiling at you, like they go on fluorescing. So you can easily identify. And LED screen, you can much easier identification. Kinyoun's method is cold acid fast staining. Why it is called cold acid fast? Because there is no heating step there. Instead, you increase the concentration of time. Okay, so it takes increase the concentration and the time of exposure of the dye. So increase in phenolic acid concentration and the duration of staining. That's why it is called Kinyoun's modification. Now, want to see more closer? This is how they appear. Okay. So, blue background. Why is this blue background? That's a question commonly asked. Because you're giving Loeffler's methylene blue as counter stain. Okay. Now, we told you that there is a diagnostic problem with saprophytic mycobacteria. So remember, RTC bus. One is rubber tubes, another is tap water, another is corks which you use to stop. It's a stop cork, like small bottles, you put a cork or a bark. So these things do contain saprophytic mycobacteria. So tap water contains, and you wash with tap water, and the saprophytic mycobacteria may cause diagnostic confusion. So gastric aspirates, feces, urinary specimens, there is a problem of saprophytic mycobacteria. But you can see that the saprophytic mycobacteria are stained uniformly. No barred or beaded forms. That means you have barred and beaded forms in case of the routine Mycobacterium tuberculosis compared to saprophytic mycobacteria. And moreover, when you do the staining, they are only acid fast, but not alcohol fast. So by these things you can distinguish. Now, coming to the culture, is the gold standard. Suppose if you say something that is gold standard, that is the best. Okay. So the sensitivity is 10 to 100 bacilli per ml sputum. Even if they are there, they can be picked up by a culture in the Lowenstein-Janssen's medium. Inoculate only 2 kinds of sets. And how do you confirm? You do the biochemical test. Liquid medium means middle groups 7H11. And automated systems, Bactec 460, Bactelert, all these things, like we'll see the advantages and disadvantages shortly. On Lowenstein-Janssen's medium, if you do a culture, most widely used medium, and the description is dry, rough, raised, irregular, buff-colored cones. So dry, rough, and tough, buff. This is the description you have to remember. And to remember again, to remind you again, NSAIDs, mineral salt solution, asparagine and malachite green selective agent to stop the growth of other bacteria. It's the composition, and it has no agar. Lowenstein-Janssen's medium has no agar. And other soluble media, blood, it is Tharshes and serum, Loeffler serums for potato, Pavlovsky, to remind you once again. Coming to liquid media, glucose medium. Tween 80 is sarbiton monoalveate. So we saw something about Tween 80 hydrolysis and also other liquid media, metal groups, transparent solars and solvents media. Last class we have discussed, it's only a question of repetition so that you won't forget. Virulent strains, they form long serpentine cards. You remember card factor. Virulence is one of the things that is ascribed to this card formation, long serpentine cards. Avirulent strains, they grow in more dispersed manner. Automated culture systems, they use liquid media. Now, newer methods of cultivation, that is the Bactec 460, Bactec alert. So, Bactec 460 has one disadvantage. Radioisotopes are used. So, it is not preferred now. And Bactec alert is a colorimetric method. Growth detected, like we said last time. The top of the medium, you either have gas produced by the bacilli or absorption of the gas that is already there. So due to the pressure differences, monitoring the pressure differences, you can observe the growth. So that is about Bactec 460, which is not preferred now because of its radioisotope usage, and Bactec alert by carbon dioxide production due to bacterial metabolism. What is this MGIT? MGIT is an abbreviation which looks too flabbergasting. But it simply says Mycobacteria growth indicator chip. That's it. MGIT is the Mycobacteria is growing in it or not, it can indicate. That's why it's called MGIT. Rapid growth detection method uses 7H9 metal group medium, fluorometric detection technology via oxygen consumption. And we told you some recent modifications. If you add pyrazinamide also, it can test the sensitivity or susceptibility to pyrazinamide also. So, by one test, you are assessing the growth as well as the susceptibility to a particular antituberculous drug, that is pyrazinamide. Liquid media, again, to draw your attention, middle group 7H9 or 7H11, and automated systems, they take only 2 to 3 weeks. Culture 2 to 8 weeks. So definitely you have an added advantage of time. And all these systems use the liquid media 7H9 supplemented with variety of growth media and antimicrobials. By antimicrobials, to stop the growth of other microorganisms. But as I told you, Bactec, MGIT, Bactec 9000, and the Bactec alert, these use the fluorescence quenching system. If radioisotopes are used in the case of Bactec 460, it is replaced. Okay, the other systems use the carbon dioxide system. That is the carbon dioxide used as a presence of, used as a evidence of the presence of tubercle bacilli. On LJ medium, you evacuate concentrated material, at least 2 bottles. If smear is positive, put up a direct drug sensitivity test also. Examine the culture for growth at 4 days. Rapid growers and fungi contaminants, if observed twice weekly, at least for 8 to 12 weeks. If there is no growth, then only you say culture negative. Okay, so rapid growers can be excluded in the first week, either contaminants or fungi. And you observe every 2 weeks. And then if it is 8 to 12 weeks, there is no growth, culture negative. If there is growth, then you declare it as positive. And do an acid-fast staining technique of Steele-Nielsen's method. So slow growing, non-pigmented, niacin positive, acid-fast bacilli. So these are the characters that confirm Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay, so please do a staining about the growth that has occurred. And if you observe a slow growing, non-pigmented, niacin positive acid fast bacillus, it is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. On the other hand, if the niacin test is negative, observe the growth at 25 degrees and 45 degrees, and animal pathogenicity, and also the biochemical tests, because you know that Mycobacterium produces negative for nitrate test, and also animal pathogenicity. If it is positive, we can say it is positive, and Mycobacterium produces positive. And if it is niacin negative, we can confirm that it is Mycobacterium bovis. So this is how the culture tubes or culture Lowenstein Jensen medium with culture looks like. The figure A represents a Lowenstein Jensen medium in a McCartney bottle. The growth is rough, tough, and buff colored. And as it is written, Bacti alert, and other is Bactic. Okay, so these are the lookalikes, presented as figures by you for identification when you see the real ones. So to revise, diagnosis of active tuberculosis, specimen collection, pulmonary TB, sputum, 2 specimens spotted early morning. If it is extrapulmonary tuberculosis, specimens vary depending on the site that is involved. Digestion and decontamination, modified PETOS method, 4% NaOH is used. And NaLC, N-acetyl L-cysteine, 2% sodium hydroxide is used. And direct microscopy, we have seen how it looks. And canyons, there is no heating. Extrapulmonary specimens, CSF, spinal, pericardial fluid, synovial fluid, acidic fluid, blood, and bone marrow, pleural biopsy, tissues collected in several saline. Suboptimal specimens, like really they are not so good, but still. Pleural fluid, 20 to 50 ml, that's why you increase the quantity. Blood indicated only for disseminated tuberculosis and co-infected with HIV. The organism load is relatively less. And specimens containing normal flora. Once you say normal flora, you think of swabs, urine, and stool. And consider it suboptimal because it's not optimal, like they're not from sterile cavities. And maybe you can get contaminants if the correct collection method is not proper. Laryngeal swabs, early morning collection by gastric lavage or direct swab itself, or swab from any discharging sinus. Urine 3 early morning specimens, 500 ml. Specimen is centrifuged. And stool for disseminated TB in HIV infected patients and infants. Okay, you have confirmed the presence of Mycobacterium tuberculosis or bovis. Now, should you do some sort of drug susceptibility testing? So DST. So we have a drug susceptibility testing laboratory in Visakhapatnam under the control of Andhra Medical College. Now, just remember the names. Not that you will be asked about drug susceptibility testing of tuberculosis. It is at postgraduate level, but enough if you remember the methods. In our undergraduate days, we used to be told about ARP, accommodation reflex, present, like that. So the same ARP, if you think here, absolute concentration method, resistance ratio method, proportion method. So these are the 3 things that are useful. One is absolute concentration method, serial concentration, number of media, the minimum inhibitory concentration is calculated. So that is absolute concentration method. So for this particular drug, this is the killing strength. That's how you decide. Another is resistance ratio method. 2 sets of graded concentration of drugs. So for example, rifampicin is used and double strength in one and single strength one. So then you put up a test and a control strain, you compare. So the resistance ratio method. So that is AR, that is resistance ratio. And proportion method, average sensitivity of a strain is indicated, varying degrees of sensitivity of the strain that is used. So it is only for completion's sake I am telling you, it is only nice to know. Okay, it is not essential that you should know. Absolute concentration method, resistance ratio method, and proportion method. Automated systems are commonly used now. What is the use of an automated system? Turnaround time. That means once you give a specimen for testing, the time between the specimen is received in the laboratory and the report is given, the time that is called is TAT, turnaround time. Means once your lab is efficient, the TAT is reduced. Okay, so number of mistakes are reduced. So automated systems, the turnaround time is less. Coming to molecular methods, as I told you in the last class, PCR and LCR, they are replacing routine culture methods. Polymerase chain reaction, ligase chain reaction. TMA, transcription-mediated amplification, to target the rRNA, and RFLP, restricted fragment length polymorphisms. IS, insertion sequence fingerprinting. These are all for epidemiological typing, that is demonstration of any mutation and the drug sensitivity of genes. Okay, so the problem is multiple drug resistance, XDR. So these are the important things that are noted by the molecular methods. LPA, line probe assay, and interferon gamma release assay. So these are not specific, and at least the interferon gamma release assay is not specific to tuberculosis, and hence it is not to be depended upon nowadays. Now, animal inoculation, as I told you earlier, is only for mention's sake. We are not supposed to use animals for testing. There are lots of problems because of PETA, SPCA. What is PETA? People for ethical treatment of animals, and also SPCA. You heard SPCA in your biochemistry, the serum prothrombin conversion accelerator. But here SPCA means Society for Prevention of Cruelty Against Animals. So these are some of the organizations which fight for animal rights. You can remember Amala, wife of Nagarjuna. She is an animal rights activist. So beware whenever you are saying about animal inoculation. Please have in mind about PETA and SPCA also. So here what you do is 2 guinea pigs are taken, 12 weeks old, and weighed at intervals, and thereafter inoculation intramuscularly into the thigh. Progressive loss of weight, indication of infection, and a positive tuberculin test. After 4 weeks, you sacrifice one animal, or you do the autopsy, and if there are no signs of infection, after 8 weeks, you sacrifice the other guinea pig and see for evidence of tuberculosis. This is how you confirm. So to revise PCR detection by IS 6110 gene, CBNAT, or the WHO sponsored or endorsed, not sponsored, endorsed. GenExpert is the one. So line probe assay, genotype, TB assay, and these are the ones that is for diagnosis. And diagnosis of latent tuberculosis, that is there inside, but there are no symptoms, and you want to diagnose, then you can go ahead with IgRA. And again, we told you IgRA is not specific for tuberculosis, so it's not dependent upon. And MANTO test, as I told you, MANTO test in BCG, you must know as long as you live. That is very important because developing nation, India, or developed nation, anywhere, whatever you call, you must remember everything about tuberculosis because it's going to be a problem. And the present government is decided to eliminate tuberculosis. And so the program is called National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. So MANTO test, why it is done? Serological test for diagnosis of tuberculosis. And it demonstrates hypersensitivity, especially in endemic areas, to tuberculous protein. Dose 0.1 ml, that is PPD containing 5 units. Route of administration, intradermal, between layers of skin. It is not subcutaneous. Underneath the skin, no. It is between the layers of skin. Mode of administration by tuberculin syringe by raising a wheel. And site of injection, flexor aspect of forearm. Like flexor aspect of forearm. And how do you measure? It is measured at its widest point transversely to the long axis. Transversely, this is the long axis. And transversely is the one that is important. So transversely you measure. And how do you read the result? Positive, an induration of 10 millimeters or more. So induration is something which you feel. Erythema is something which you see. Observe the difference. Erythema is not taken into consideration. Induration, you feel physically, you feel the lesion. So induration of 10 mm or more, 10 millimeters or more is a positive one. If it is 6 to 9 mm, it is doubtful. Below 5 mm or 5 mm itself is negative. You can do a dose alteration also. So purified protein derivative, 1 TU is used instead of 5 TU when extreme hypersensitivity is suspected. If 5 TU test is negative, then you go for 10 or 100 TU can be used. And it is only again for completion about the HEAF test and time test, multiple puncture, screening surveys, not accurate enough as a diagnostic test. And time, disposable prawns, that too, at least they used to be used when they were very young. I don't think they are being used nowadays. HEAF and time test. If you ask, you should be able to say in the Viva. Okay. How do you interpret? For example, you say MANTO is positive, tuberculin positive, tuberculin negative, false positive. All these things come into play. Now, it indicates hypersensitivity to tubercular protein if it is positive. Denotes infection with TB bacilli prior to the BCG or prior BCG vaccination. Earlier, if you have taken BCG vaccine, then also MANTO can be positive. And it has become positive within 4 to 6 weeks after infection or immunization, both. And tuberculin allergy, it wanes off within 4 to 5 years if there is no subsequent contact with mycobacteria. In endemic areas, keep on getting stimulated, and that is why the MANTO can be repeatedly positive. For example, when you call it a tubercle negative, persons who have never had any prior contact or exposure to TB bacilli, especially the children who are coming from America, like they have no chance of getting exposed. So, maybe negative. Convalescence post-measles, there also no. And lymphoreticular malignancy. Okay, so Hodgkin's. So certain diseases of the lymphoreticular system. sarcoidosis, severe malnutrition, and immunosuppressive therapy. Might be using the immunosuppressive drugs, maybe herpetic keratitis, or impaired cell-mediated immunity, maybe AIDS, So these are the conditions. Coming to false negative and false positive. False negative may be in miliary tuberculosis, anarchy, that is failure to react. The PPD is inactive. Suppose drugs also, if you want to take, you see the date of expiry. Suppose you are using PPD which is long expired, there is no point, it can't stimulate. So whether the PPD, purified protein derivatives, date expired which we are using, and inappropriate injection technique. Suppose in between the layers of skin you are supposed to inject, and you have to raise a wheel, and suppose you are given it deeper. It can't give the required test result. False positive infections with the related mycobacteria, maybe atypical mycobacteria, also can give such a reaction. So two-step testing is one this thing, repeated tuberculin testing. In non-infected persons, enhanced response, booster effect. The retesting site at a different, which is different from the earlier site of infection, can be used. So what are the uses of tuberculin test? Diagnostic is okay. You can diagnose active infection in infants and children. Epidemiologically, you can say about the prevalence of infection or successful vaccination in a specified area. Because you say post-vaccination also the matter can become positive. So you can either say the prevalence of infection or the BCG is successful or not in a given area. Community-wise, what is the use? Control of bovine tuberculosis. Now, coming to extrapulmonary tuberculosis, that is a tuberculosis not from affecting the lungs. So what are all these specimens? If it is a renal tuberculosis, naturally the urine is a specimen. Excretion of bacilli is intermittent. And, you better take morning avoided whole urine, 3 to 6 specimens. Centrifuge at 3000 G for 30 minutes, concentrate the segment, do the Ziehl-Neelson's, and also can use it for culture. If it is, okay, urine we have said, CSF, joint fluid, biopsy specimen, blood or bony fluids can be used. Laboratory diagnosis, microscopy and culture. If it is CSF, as I told you while we were talking about the appearance, like a web, spider web appearance, that is good for doing the smear as well as examination or culture techniques. Bone marrow, PCR and DNA probes. Liver biopsy in case of tuberculosis, miliary tuberculosis. Blood from HIV co-infection. And pus from abscesses, parent culture, pleural effusion and other exudates. Collect in citrate to prevent coagulation. And then centrifuge and inoculate prior concentration if other bacteria are present. Now, a word about prophylaxis. General measures, adequate nutrition, health education, and good house, proper ventilation, all these required, and all these things are as important as the antibacterial measures that you take. Coming to immunoprophylaxis, BCG, as well as community curing. So this vaccine, 1921, it is found out. And its nature is a live attenuated vaccine. So remember the code again, Bovis 239 GBP13. That means it is a Mycobacterium bovis strain, 239 subcultures in glycerol bile potato medium over 13 years. So this is the history. However, now many substrains have been evolved. In India, the WHO has recommended the use of Danish 1331 strain, tuberculin test and BCG if you want to do a comparison. After BCG, the tuberculin test becomes positive. Available at Central BCG Lab, Guindy, Chennai. Immunity, as I said earlier, may last for 10 to 15 years. It is similar to natural infection, but there is no risk of reactivation. In natural infection, there is a risk of reactivation. And you have given BCG, the body will not keep quiet. It shows some reactions, 2 to 3 weeks. At the site of inoculation, you develop a papule, 5 to 6 weeks. Shallow ulcer covered with crust, 6 to 12 weeks. Permanent, round, tiny scar, about 4 to 8 millimeters. And 8 to 14 weeks, mantle becomes positive, which is earlier maybe negative in case of people who are never exposed. It becomes positive. If overdose is given, what happens? A large, irregular in shape scar. That's why I just wanted to give you how regular it can be. The word irregular, I represent it in different fonts. So, irregular in shape. And if an overdose is given. 2 types of BCG are available. Liquid, fresh form, less stable, lyophilized, more stable, freeze-dried. It's recommended for use. Reconstitute the powder of BCG with a normal saline, not with distilled water, please, because distilled water will be an irritant to the tissues. 0.1 ml, that is 0.1 milligrams, route of administration intradermal, that is needle tuberculosis. Do not use alcohol to wipe the skin, no, because it is a bacillus. And little alcohol, 2 to 8 minutes contact, it will kill the bacillus. So that is why you are not supposed to use alcohol to wipe the skin. Complications of BCG. Local, regional, channel. Local, it can form abscess, indolent ulcer, keloid. Remember, in surgery, they'll tell you the sites that are preferable for keloid. Shoulder is one of the sites. So, tuberculitis, formation of tuberculitis, confluent lesions, leukoid lesions, lupus vulgaris. These are all problems with the BCG vaccination in the local category. Regional enlargement and separation of draining lymph nodes can be there. General fever, mediastinal adenitis, erythema nodosum, and keloid tendency. These are seen as general complications. A very rare one is BCGitis, which is a non-fatal meningitis. And if an immunodeficient subjects progressive tuberculosis medicine, be careful. Never immunize a person who is immunodeficient. And what about the efficacy? May not offer protection from the risk of tuberculosis, but protection to infants and young children is there. Serious forms of meningitis and disseminated tuberculosis may not result if BCG is given. How do you recommend? Direct BCG, intradermal injection, immediately after birth, that is called 0 BCG. And before 1 year of age, okay, alasyam, amrutam visham. But you can wait up to 1 year, due to various reasons. But the best is 0 BCG. After 2 years, you need not give BCG because anyway you are exposed to the, because we are endemic to tuberculosis. So indirect BCG is giving it after tuberculin test. Contraindications, so when you are not supposed to give, infants and children with active HIV. And child born to AFP positive mother. And child with a low immunity, generalized eczema, pregnancy. So these are the contraindications. Benefit, definitely there in case of asymptomatic HIV positive cases. Because asymptomatic HIV positive cases also, it is definitely not indicated. Now about the treatment. It is again the arena of medical people, but still for completion's sake, I'll give you some names of the anti-tuberculosis drugs, first line, second line. Before I tell you about the treatment part of it, let me tell you the National Tuberculosis Elimination Program has a different set of guidelines issued. And anyway, it is only for completion's sake I'm telling you the names of drugs. Don't worry about the regimens, don't worry about all these things. Except you say there is an intensive phase and a continuation phase in case of National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. That's all. Okay. So first line, isoniazid, rifampicin, or rifampin, pyrazinamide, ethambutol, and streptomycin. Second line, ethionamide, apothanamide, penolones like levofloxacin, morfloxacin, oxyfloxacin, or ofloxacin. Aminoglycosides like kanamycin, caprio, and amic acid. And cycloserine, like para-amino salicylic acid, PAS. Macrolides like clarithromycin. Bedaquiline is introduced in 2015, and agents with unclear efficacy. So these are all various drugs that are used. And aim of treatment is to interrupt transmission by rendering patients non-functional. The first aim is to interrupt the transmission. And second aim, to prevent death or prevent morbidity by curing patients. And also they prevent emergence of drug-resistant strains like MDR and XDR and prevent relapse. These are the aims of treatment. So I told you anti-TB drugs are group 1, group 2, group 3, 4, 5, that they are given. But don't worry about all these things. You just know that they are like that. In microbiology, you are not tested about your knowledge on treatment. You are supposed to say about MAN2, you are supposed to say about BCG, you are supposed to say about Lowenstein's medium, but not about treatment part. Enough if you know. Drug resistance, MDR and XDR. So again, due to mutations, 1 to the power of 8 divisions, there may be mutation. And this can be prevented by giving combination therapy. So don't use a single drug and use combination. Again, the resistance may be due to primary or secondary. Primary resistance refers to the resistance to rifampicin and isoniazid. Acquired is MDR or XDR. So multiple drug resistance and added to rifampicin and sensitivity, that loss of sensitivity to primary resistance part. The XDR means at least one of the 3 injectable second line drugs like amic acid, kanamycin, capreomycin. Then you call it as XDR. Now, a word about the National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. Your textbooks say about RNTCP and how it is done and all that. But from January 2020, the program is renamed as National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. So it is no more revised as, told as RNTCP, Revised National Tuberculosis Control Program. It is at a stage, elimination. So what are the sheet angles? One is DOTS. It is directly observed treatment. Short course. And you do the diagnosis by morning spot or sputum microscopy. Immediately you collect it right away and then save. And the cost of treatment is nothing, free of cost. Made available by designated microscopy centers. directly observed treatment as a short course. So that is the Shikanker. To achieve multi-drug therapy is given. Short course chemotherapy and 2 phases. One is intensive and another is continuation. Dot strategy, the entire treatment course is supervised to improve the patient compliance. You have to be there, the health worker will be there, and he has to physically swallow the tablets, because such important to our country's economy is to stop the spread of tuberculosis. Okay, as I told you, the regimens are under change. Earlier, category 1, 2, 3, and 4 in case of the MDR and XDR are given. But enough if you remember, there are category 1, 2, 3, and algorithms and laboratory diagnosis that are standardized, they are given, and the drug susceptibility testing also is done, and those labs are also identified. And one word about grading. So whatever you call it, you are not supposed to call it anymore. It should be called as National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. Number of acid phosphobacilli in 100 oil fields, oil immersion fields. Grading is 0 if you don't see in 100 oil immersion fields. For example, 1 to 9 in 100 oil immersion fields. And you have seen such fields 100, say scanty. It is positive but scanty. 10 to 99 bacilli for 100 oil immersion fields. You have screened 100 fields, and then you say it is 1 plus and it is positive. And 1 to 10 oil immersion fields, and you have screened 50 such fields, it is 2 plus positive. 3 plus. In 1 oil immersion field or 10 oil immersion fields, you have seen 10 bacilli per oil immersion field, and you have screened 20, it becomes 3 plus. So you can see the fields that are searched are becoming less and less to give 1 plus, 2 plus, or 3 plus. If you have to give negative, you have to observe more number of fields. And if it is positive, the degree of positivity, less number of fields, you see more number of bacilli, 1 plus, plus 3 plus. That is good. Even if you don't remember all these things, you say, I have seen, sir, but I don't remember. No problem. But you should know that there is a system of grading the given smear. And the result is either negative or positive with scanty evidence, positive 1 plus, positive 2 plus, positive 3 plus. As again told you, category 1, 2, 3 and dots plus and category 4, the guidelines are changed because of the recent National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. Enough if you say that there is an intensive phase of first 6 to 9 months and continuation phase for next 18 months. That is sufficient. And standardized RNTCP, that is now NTAP regimen, again I told you, they are varied and they are altered, and to have these things in your textbooks, it may take some more time, but still you know that there is an intensive phase and there is a continuation phase. And to just summarize, we have seen the laboratory diagnosis of Mycobacteria tuberculosis in today's class. And essentially, it is pulmonary tuberculosis or extrapulmonary tuberculosis. If it is extrapulmonary, there are varieties of specimen, and it is pulmonary means sputum is the specimen. We have have seen how to grow it in lower stringency medium, and we have seen a flow chart, and we have also seen how to confirm it as Mycobacterium tuberculosis or Mycobacterium bovis, and we have also seen today about the man-to test, how to do it, how to measure it, and how to interpret it by the same. We have also seen about the vaccination, that is the prophylaxis. And again, let's meet on 22nd and 23rd to deal with the non-tuberculous mycobacteria and atypical mycobacteria and Mycobacterium 11. Thank you. Thanks for listening, and I hope you will read about this today. And be ready to take a test. We might have, and we will have, about 20 multiple choice questions in the classes covered on tuberculosis, first and second. Okay, thank you.